right. We are going to dissect the Metropolitan Division and figure out which teams need to panic. Oops. And which teams don't need to panic. We're gonna rate it on a scale from 1 to 10. What do you say? 10 is like hit the button, Mayday, Mayday, and then 1 is like pina
10 is,
colada on the beach.
yeah, exactly. 10 is like my plane is going down, my ship's underwater, like you're fucked.
Okay. Let's start with the New Jersey Devils. How are we feeling on a panic index? We'll start with you, Mac.
You said 10, they're in good shape. One is you're screwed.
No, no, no. Opposite.
Okay. Okay. I will give the Devils, let's see, they're 10, 6, and 2. Second place right now, 22 points. I'll go with I don't know if they're drinking a pina colada in my opinion, but I'll give them like a they're on like their third Corona and they're feeling nice right now. They're probably at like maybe a 3 or 4.
Okay. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Could still fall apart, but like not a
Yes.
lock.
Yes. Like
Yes.
I'm not totally convinced, but like for now, yeah, have another Corona.
I think they're like a three. I think a three is fair. Like they're cruising down the highway and they know that there's people behind them that are trying to catch up. So they're constantly looking in their mirror, being like, all right, are we still okay? How close are those Rangers getting? But we're
Hmm.
we're fine. We're cruising right now. We're in the left lane, no
I
Priuses in front of us. We're good.
I think what helps me keep it as low as a 3 there too is like the problems that we've seen this team have in recent years are not as likely to occur now. Like the goaltending thing, I feel a lot better about where they're at with Markstrom than I do if they just had like, a Schmid and he's played a couple good games or something like that.
I will I'll go with 2. I'll go with 2. They've looked pretty good. I think like Max said, the problems they had they addressed. Solid goal differential plus 13. They've scored the most goals in the division. I think this is right where you want to be if you're New Jersey. Maybe you would want a little bit of a better record, but you can't really complain at this point.
Yeah.
All right, the Carolina Hurricanes. Nick, we'll start with you on this one.
I'm gonna give these guys a two. They're sitting pretty comfortable right now. I'm not gonna say pina colada on a beach, but they're in their backyard in a lawn chair with a beer because it's North Carolina. So let's be real.
Garage beers.
Yeah, exactly.
I I want to I'm not gonna lie, I want to give them a 4, but I can't. I'm gonna give them a 3. Let me explain why I want to give them a 4. Um, I know they're 11-3-0. That's excellent. I know they're 9-1-0 in their last 10. Also great. Scored a lot of goals, but the goaltending situation is not it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Freddie Anderson, I called it. Every year Freddie Anderson gets hurt. He can't keep getting away with this.
He's the new Robin Lehner, man.
He basically is. And I know Kochetkov has played really well. But I just foresee that becoming an issue. And so that's why I think, like, to use your highway analogy, yeah, they're way ahead of the pack, but they only have like half a tank. Like it's gonna run out at some point.
Whoa.
I'll I don't know. Like I guess a 3 because we knew they'd be, well, can't speak for everybody. I thought they'd be a playoff team. I thought they'd be good. They're definitely gonna make the playoffs. Nate just looks incredible. That turned
Yes,
out
he
well.
does. Also, Jarvis is hurt right now. I don't know how serious that is, but it's just something to keep in mind.
Right. But I agree. The goaltending come playoff time, I have a funny feeling that's going to come up and bite him in the ass again. So we'll see. But for right now, big win in Vegas to slay that undefeated home streak for the Knights. So I
They
think
beat the
Carolina's
crap out of him, didn't they?
it's like 6-2, I think.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'll give Carolina like a 3. It would be a 2 if they had addressed goaltending in the offseason. I'm not sold on it.
That's
exactly.
that's a good way to put it. Let me ask you guys one more thing about Carolina. Do they have a superstar?
I mean,
Like I guess Aho is the closest thing.
I'd say Ajo's a soup. I'd say Ajo soup. Okay, superstar. Hmm.
Not
They've got
really.
no. I
I
guess
say
not.
no.
I wouldn't say a superstar, but they've got a lot of star players.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They've got like star power. It's more of like a group of good players.
yeah, I agree.
Let's see what Jackson Blake can do too. I've seen some highlights so far. I'm not dialed into every game, but 4 goals already through 14 games. Was up for the Hobie Baker last year too, wasn't he? Was he one of the
Yeah,
3 finalists?
he was, I think, right?
Yeah, I
Or at
think.
least close.
Yeah, maybe close. I can't remember, but yeah, he's looked good so far. All right, the Washington Capitals. Mac, we'll start with you.
Harry will start with you.
Oh, panic index for the Caps. Ugh, ugh. I don't want to go. Can I skip? Can't skip.
No.
I will give the Capitals a 3. They've played very well. They look good. Logan Thompson looks unbelievable. He probably is going to make Team Canada for the Four Nations tournament, so that's good for him. Also, can we just say this? This is my favorite time of year because you see all the stats on Twitter where it's like so and so is on pace for blah 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 whatever. It's like Dylan Strome's on pace for 130 points, and I'm like, sure, fine, buy that if you want. They look good, and to be honest, I think they're overperforming a little bit, so like that even makes it better because they're out of the gate hotter than I thought they would be. So yeah, I think in terms of panicking. Probably a 3. And I think Carberry's probably gonna end up winning the fucking Jack Adams. I hate my life.
Well said. Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I'm a three. I'm like, I'm happy with what I'm seeing. I am fully aware of how long an NHL season is. Been through couple two tree of these before with
Yeah.
this team, and I love them to death. But yeah, three is where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially because I think a lot of the dudes who are playing really well will eventually, I'm not going to say they'll fall off, but they'll probably come back down to earth somewhat. And I'm sure we'll peter out a little bit. I do think this is a good strong team, playoff team, but I do think like we'll come back down to earth a little bit.
All right, Rangers. Nick.
I'm gonna put the Rangers at a five, and here's why.
Oh,
They came into this season, I think, or Rangers fans came into this season kind of expecting, with some of the offseason moves they made, they're like, hey, this division's ours. We're just going to run away with this thing. And Carolina and New Jersey can try and keep up, but probably not going to happen. And I think right out of the gate, they were a little bit slow to start, which is understandable. I think Igor's had 1 or 2 games where he has not looked good at all, most notably against the Caps, where his goalie leg pads just turned into pinball paddles that he threw pucks at Caps forwards. But yeah, I'm going to put them at a five, and I think it's because they're not as comfortable as they want to be right now.
I think that's fair. I think I'll put them at a 4, but for the same reasons as you're saying. In the standings, they're pretty much neck and neck with the Caps right now, and not just in like points, but like also in like goal differential, that sort of thing. And so I think for that reason, they would like to be higher. I think they've also scored 10 fewer goals than the Capitals have, which I don't think they'd be satisfied with that if you told them that before the season, that they'd be at that point right now. However, I'm going 4 instead of 5 because they've also, as of right this second, played less games than any other team in the Metro. So I do think they
It's a
have
good
room
point.
to figure that out and be right where they want to be.
I feel like people think that I like the Rangers. I will tell you right now I promise you that is not the case. But I do think they're a really, really good team, and it just feels like the past 2 years they've been due, they've been due, they've been due. I think they're due again this year. I'm not worried about the Rags at all, honestly. I guess I'll go 2 because I don't think they're sipping pina coladas, but like I don't think they care about winning the division. They won the freaking President's Trophy last year, and that got him a big old nothing burger by the end of the playoffs. So 9-3-1, solid. They've allowed the least amount of goals in the division. Good defense, good goalie. I'm not worried about the Rags. They're right where they need to be. It's early season still. It's kind of like who's like a team that's known to like sleep at the beginning, but you know it's gonna come at some point.
The Pittsburgh Penguins.
Penguins.
Well, that's the old. That's the
This year,
old.
this year does feel a little different though, huh?
This year, the alarm clock batteries ran out and they're still asleep.
We're not on the Penguins yet. We're not on the Penguins yet.
Okay.
Let's go to the New York Islanders. What are we thinking? Nick, we'll start with you.
Someone left this team on like the repeat one setting because like every season they've had since going to the conference finals against who was that? Tampa
Yeah, I think so.
during the Mickey Mouse year. That was yeah. So I don't know. Does anyone know what's going on with the Islanders? I feel like their points percentage being exactly at like 500 is exactly what I would expect for this team at this point in the year. So I'm just going to say 4. They're probably a little bit stressed that they could be doing better, but not higher because they know that they're not going to blow anyone away stats wise unless it's in block shots or, I don't know, responsible face offs in defensive zones.
I'm gonna go ahead and say, well, I wanted to say 6, but I'm gonna say 5 because I think the Caps are above them in a big way. Not in a big way, but like eye test wise, the Caps are
They're playing a
above
lot
them.
better.
Yes, exactly. And that they wouldn't have wanted to hear before the season started. However, they would have been pleasantly surprised to hear that the Penguins were beneath them, so it kind of cancels out in the Metro chase. However, they've got injury problems. They've always got some goal scoring problems. Um, it does feel like same old, same old. I don't know that there's anything. I don't think there's any wow factor about this team right now. And I just don't see anything that great happening to them this year.
Lowest goals for in the division by a lot, which is not a huge surprise, but not great.
39 goals through 15 games this year. I I will give them a 6. And here's why. It is literally the same story as always. They can't score. They've got 2 good goalies, but like for some reason, one of them is always off, it seems, in the last like year or so. Barzell's hurt. Duclair's hurt. I mean, do they make
Hellet's
playoffs?
hurt.
Consersley is still not doing anything to my knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, if they make playoffs, like cool, but they're
But Matt
getting
Martin's
bounced.
back.
But Matt Martin's back, so
Okay, you're right. They're sipping pina coladas.
Right.
shit.
And
Might have
he
to change to a
was, and then
1.
he's like, fuck, I gotta go play hockey
You're
again.
right. He definitely was.
I'm going 6 because nothing's changed. Like I just don't personally, I'm
I
just
think
gonna
it's
say
fair.
this. I'm gonna get flamed for this. I know I'm gonna get flamed for this, and I take it. On paper, right now, I think Columbus is the only team worse than them. Like there's just nothing about them on paper that screams anything to me. I don't know. It's just
Well,
I
that's
don't
why I
know if
said like
I
there's just I don't know if I agree with that, but I can confidently say nothing spectacular is happening to this team this year.
here's a
agreed.
comparison I'll throw at you guys, and Harry, this might take some of the heat off of you. Are the New York Islanders just the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL? They were really good in the 80s and won like 4 championships, and they've kind of got a quirky owner GM, Jerry
Yeah.
Jones, Lou Lamoriello, and they just refuse to change and expect it to get better every year, and it just doesn't.
It's like a Cowboys that no one wants to watch.
Yeah, exactly. So the Cowboys.
So the
Well,
Cowboys, yeah.
well, I enjoy watching them suffer. I mean, I enjoy watching the Islanders suffer, but I can just tell you, I mean, the Islanders are the last team that I want to put on my television. Truthfully,
Agreed.
I'm sorry. And I think the Islanders fans are great. They got a great crowd. They give it to
Yeah.
people. We
Yeah.
know like Dean and all them. Like I love them, but it's just
Mhm.
don't don't like your team. Like there's
If I
nothing
it's
going.
like if I wanted to watch 2000s hockey, I would just go watch a 2000s hockey game that's, 2 to
Yeah.
1, but
You know how you asked if Carolina has a superstar? Does
yeah.
do the
Oh
Islanders?
man.
I don't think so.
It's a
Sorry.
good point.
Just saying. All right, we'll move on. Don't make me go first. I feel like I should definitely go last for this. I want to hear what you guys say. The Penguins. Mac, tee it off.
So I want to tread lightly because I've done this before in years past where I'm like, oh my God, they're off to such a bad start. This is the year they finally just suck the whole year. I don't think that's fully going to happen. I'm sure they will claw their way to somewhat of a respectable year. However, something feels different about this year than past years. I also do think that if it doesn't get better like very soon, I do think it's realistic they could straight up blow it up like in the middle of the year, or fire the coach. See, I want them to blow it up because if they fire the coach, they're going to hire somebody and they're going to win like 18 out of 20 and they're going to be right back in it. So I want them to make the wrong move, which is just blowing the whole thing up, trading everybody, admitting defeat, going for a lottery pick. See you next year. That's what I'm banking on. In general, though, I'm going to give this team a 7. I do think they're in trouble.
I think that's a great way to put it. I honestly was going to say exactly the same thing. It's a 7 for me. I would love to tell you it's an 11 and that this thing is just a dumpster fire. But like Max said, I've seen this movie before. I've watched the St. Louis Blues be in dead last place in January in the NHL and then win the Stanley Cup in the same year. And that was the Blues, whereas the Penguins, they could just win the Stanley Cup from anywhere. So not going to go ahead and like totally count them out yet, but Mac, I think the point you make that's the best here is if it doesn't get better soon, they are really, really screwed. And at what point, if it doesn't get better soon, do you just say, what draft pick are we going for here?
9. 9. If you're talking about them trying to compete and make the playoffs, 9. If you're talking about them trying to tank, 1. Um, but we're talking about them trying to win because that's what they were told they were going to try to do this year. I'm not going to go too
Well,
deep yet. We'll
we
save that.
we all know this team can tank.
We all know the team can tank. We all know the team can
Boom,
tank.
got
I'd
him.
be fine tanking. Fuck this team. Sorry. Um, I'll talk more about them in a few moments here, but I'd say it's a good solid 9. The Blue Jackets, Nick.
Um, I don't know, like a 2 or a 3. I feel like with everything going on with Columbus this year, their fans probably didn't expect much. Coaching staff probably didn't expect much, and you feel for the guys in that locker room because they've probably been through so much. So I think with where they're at right now, I'd probably say a 3. I don't really think they're panicking all that much.
I would agree. I think they're trying to just come to the rink, play hockey, do their job, stay loose as can be. No expectations. Try to have fun, right? That's probably the attitude in that locker room. So, yeah, probably. I honestly 1 or 2. There's no panic involved. It's expected.
I think for them, they probably just want to keep Werenski healthy this year. That's probably the main thing they're focused on.
Give them a 1. They've actually, I don't know if you guys have caught any CBJ games. They're competing. Like a lot of these games are
For sure.
close.
They'll spoil some teams all year long, no doubt.
They're gritty. If it makes them feel any better, the Penguins have a worse points percentage in the division, so therefore you are not last in that category. But yeah, I think CBJ's playing hard, and I want to give a shout out to I'm gonna fuck this name up. Chikhanov.
Chinikov?
Chinikov. Igor Chinikov. He rocks. Shout out Cody Pucks. He bets him like every night and hits it somehow. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, they do
Um,
have a couple guys who can sort of light it up out of nowhere. I know Boone Jenner's hurt. We all know what he means to that team and that program. So hopefully, I think he's supposed to come back in like March, maybe. That's the estimate. I know it's a while.
sure.
So don't quote me on that, but I know it's not in 2024. Let's put it that way.
Really interested to hear the rating for the last team in the Metro, the Philadelphia Flyers. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
I feel like the Flyers are. I feel like they're. I want to give them a 5, You know what? I will give them a 5. It's right in the middle. I'm not really sure what to make of them yet. I think a lot of people thought they were going to regress this year. Um, I personally didn't necessarily think that. I thought they'd kind of be around the same that they were last year, fringe playoff team on that bubble looking to get in the wild card. And they added Mitchkov in so like that's a great add for them. I don't know. 5. Like I feel like they want to make the playoffs. I think that's the goal for this squad. They're not like a lottery team in my opinion. Some people think that.
I will mostly agree with you. I'm going to give him a 6. I do think Mitchkov has proved that he can be a game breaker. This team has been missing a game breaking player like that, and he clearly can come and have an effect on a game immediately. However, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know what my big thing that I'm always critical about teams is they don't have a goalie. I'm sorry, Samuel Ersan cannot be the guy. He's proved he cannot be the guy. Uh, Last night they played the Sharks, led them 3-0, blew the entire lead, ended up winning in a shootout. But that to me is kind of the epitome of like what this season is like flipping a coin and maybe getting 2 points, basically.
It's a great way to put it. And you nailed it. It's the goaltending. I mean, second worst goal differential in this division. Um, I feel like there was so much hype around them. Maybe it was just from Flyers fans in the offseason, but all you heard was, oh my God, we only missed the playoffs by a couple of points. Had, that game against the Caps got better. Of course, we would have done better than the Caps did against the Rangers, blah, blah, blah. And then it went straight into Mitchkov, which dude's looked unreal at times. He's also looked like a liability at times, but I don't really fault him for that because he's a young player who just came over to the NHL. So it is what it is. The end all be all for them is the same problem this team has had basically since Bernie Parent left in the 70s with that there's no one there to stop the fucking puck. Like
I love when I criticize their goaltending. Like Flyers fans love to be like, "Whoa, what did you want?" Like that's not our fault that we had this whole situation happen with Carter Hart. I'm like, look, I'm not talking about Carter Hart. He sucked too. He was terrible.
You guys benched
Wasn't
him.
good.
It didn't matter.
Yeah, like I don't know why they're like, well, if we had Hart, this wouldn't be a problem. No, it'd be a problem. He was bad.
Yeah.
He had like one good year, not a good goalie.
Right.